that patient was so fortunate to be able to die surrounded by loved ones.
Absolutely. It was really very beautiful. If you can have a good death and a good death visit, a good event, that was it.
And what about you? After that experience, how did you decompress?
Well, I don't think I really knew how to do it at that point in my career. I think once we got past the business of things, you help the family do the postmortem care and take care of calling the funeral home. When you wait, their practice was to wait until the funeral home took the patient's body out of the home. They sent my supervisor, because I had not been trained to do a death pronouncement. So my supervisor came to the house and showed me how to do that, pronounced the patient, and took care of everything. After we got out of the house, I think I was a little bit in shock. It was so overwhelming emotionally and mentally. So she said, okay, after an event like this, we want you to go home, which was probably the smartest thing to do. I don't think I knew how to do it at that point to decompress, but my supervisor, she helped me to debrief. You talk about what you've seen, you share questions, you share emotions, observations about it, just to digest it a little bit. I think that was probably how I took care of myself that day. I would do it differently now after having so many years of experience with it, but I think that was a lot of it. Connecting with a colleague who could understand, had witnessed this themselves, and knew exactly what I was going through, that chance to share observations and ask questions. I think that was really how I took care of myself to manage that.
For healthcare professionals working in hospice and being surrounded by grief and dying patients, when I asked how did you decompress, you said the way that I did it then would be different to how I would do it now. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
I think I'm 11 years older than I was when I started, and my life looks different. I have personal time margin. My kids are grown and out of the house, but I think I've also learned what situations trigger me. I've learned that my self-care has to be daily, and sometimes it had to be even more frequent than that. Your self-care has to be very personalized. I had to find what worked for me. It has to be realistic. I would say that the debriefings, the digesting and processing the events that I've witnessed, I would still say that's really a very important part of my self-care to avoid the compassion fatigue and the secondary grief. But I would also say that rituals, personal rituals for how I take care of myself, a shower at the end of the day, when I was seeing patients taking off my uniform, shedding that part of my identity so that I could set that role aside and take care of just myself, body, mind, spirit. I also know more about my own personality. To care for myself physically, I need certain things. To care for myself mentally, I need certain things. And to care for myself spiritually, I need certain things. I wouldn't have known that 10 years ago. I have learned so much about myself as I have moved through my hospice career. And of course, I'm also 11 years older than I was. So what my body needed physically back then is not what it needs now. I think self-care has to evolve anyway, because once it gets dull and it's ineffective, you're going to abandon it. So it's not going to work for you at all. I would recommend that most people allow their self-care to morph, and mine certainly has.
For us, by us, and just for us, this is Hope for Med.